Good evening all. Welcome to day 3 on week 2 of the 6-week mindfulness journey. I'll just quickly recap yesterday's activity. It was it's called Interested in You, and it was talking about experiencing this particular way of being with others. And so during a conversation that you have that day or any other day, act as if you are speaking with the most interesting, important person in the world and become totally absorbed in what they say, in their thoughts, feelings, ideas and experiences. Become like a skilled interviewer, soaking up what the others say with no care for your own opinions. And talks of listening without needing to judge or analyse. Notice the urge to butt in, to tell your own story, to take the conversation in another direction. And when that arises, come back to listening and see what happens next. So, actually, I suppose after yesterday's, I didn't particularly come in contact with anyone that I would do that with. So today was sort of my opportunity to do that. I'll be honest, I wasn't necessarily thinking that of this activity. However, it was a close friend of mine that we do seem to talk in depth about a lot of things. We seem to have some common interests and things that we kind of disagree on. And in fact, I've talked on and off many months now about, or many weeks at least, for having a podcast to just get these ideas out. We both like talking, so it's my friend that I mentioned before, who I sometimes end up butting in. I can't resist the temptation. That's usually because she says something that suddenly sparks something in my mind, and I've almost got to say it in that moment rather than just sit back and wait. So that happened a little bit today, but she's quite good at being in the moment and going, hang on, wait, or shut up if need be. So so that happened today over coffee. That was nice. It's always good to catch up with her anyway. So as I said, we're on to day 3. This one's called Let It Be. That's a good song, that is. As it is, it says in brackets. And it talks of working with emotions here. We humans also spend a lot of time and energy warring with our own internal states. We spend our precious internal resources trying to change our anger, trying to get rid of our sadness, trying to escape from our anxiety. We argue with reality outside of ourselves and with feelings inside of ourselves. When it comes to the internal world, our battles can take on epic proportions. Our normal way of dealing with unpleasant emotions is to get rid of them, to change them, to suppress them, or to ignore them. That is what we are taught, and is what most of us do majority of the time. Two consequences of this can be that we become afraid of feelings and avoid them. And the second is, and the author says they would certainly argue that as the 21st century rolls on, humans are becoming less and less tolerant of painful feelings. We're giving credence to the expectation that we should feel good most of the time, and we have a lot of tools for doing that, even when our internal state makes it difficult. The second thing that can happen when we try to control things and control our feelings is that they grow, they get stronger and they multiply. Anything you fight gains energy from the fight. Anything you resist or try to get rid of tends to cling more tightly. For example, when you try to get rid of your anger, you may find yourself becoming angry that you can't make it go away, or angry that it is there in the first place, and so anger grows. The thing I can think of, particularly to do with anger or frustration, but I think it's mainly anger, is people that think they're helping you by just saying, just calm down, just calm down. When you've almost, well, perhaps not lost control, but you're caught up in that moment of anger. That is the worst thing for me personally, anyway. And I imagine actually a lot of you can identify that. Saying that in that moment is just, it's not helpful. I know that the sentiment is or I know what the sentiment is. It's from a place of love or care, but for people that do that, just don't. Just let the person calm down naturally. Or better still, go away from them. Let them calm down by themselves. I think I often found in my anger, it got to a point, and then there's that. The people trying to calm me down, fueling it, And also, I think it just got to a point of almost being a bit, I don't know whether show-offy is but sort of, you kind of, when other people are there, it just exacerbates it. That's how I felt anyway. And you've almost sort of got to put on a show. I guess that is what it felt like, a bit like a show, but not, not like I'm proud of it or happy about it. Hope that makes sense. Not sure it makes sense to me, really. It says, you may feel guilty about wasting so much time and emotions that you do nothing for you. So guilt comes along to play as well. The emotions can grow and grow. Yeah, I don't know what it is about guilt. Like, you're sort of made to feel guilty for taking time for yourself, right? Being, well, it's claimed as being selfish, but I don't personally see being selfish as just a bad thing. Like, you hear it and you think, oh, they're only thinking of themselves. It's like, well, yeah, we're allowed to think of just ourselves sometimes. And in fact, I would argue it's very important to do so. And probably more often than we're led to believe. But yeah, that's feeling guilty about doing that, having time to yourself. I don't know exactly where that comes from. As we keep fighting and losing these battles, we slip more and more into the world of story, and in this half-life there is so much pain and discomfort and unhappiness and dissatisfaction, because we know deep down that what we are capable of. We know that we deserve. We know what we deserve and what we were born for. Yet we find ourselves lost in this world, half asleep and half awake. To discover the peace that each of us is capable of, we must learn to practice allowfulness. The best way to learn it, in the author's opinion, is to spend time with difficult feelings, because this is usually the area that's most problematic for us. Picking up on that, I would agree with that, and also say that we should all, not always, but when the opportunities arise, we should definitely be having uncomfortable conversations, about, I suppose we're made to feel that certain subjects are taboo and you shouldn't talk about them, but I see a lot of those subjects as being stuff that you definitely do need to talk about and you need to tackle head on. Spending time with that feeling that it says here, that uncomfortable feeling, and sitting down and having that, I believe is important. It's what I tried to do in a previous relationship, and for when the relationship lasted, it seemed to work. It seemed to help things, I think. Unfortunately, overall the relationship wasn't meant to be, came to an end. However, I believe that sitting and having those uncomfortable conversations, or about stuff that appears uncomfortable to begin with, once you again peel back the layer of, or tear down the wall that the other person's putting up, it's really not as bad as perhaps they were making out, or that their mind was telling them it would be. Having those difficult feelings, it says this is usually the area that's most problematic for us, and it's a place we want to escape from quickly, but it's also an area that provides frequent opportunities for practice, because difficult feelings tend to arise every day for most of us. Today's practice will centre around something very simple: tension or stress in the body. You're likely to be carrying some tension and stress right now in your muscles or joints or even your organs. Today I invite you to do the opposite of what we nearly lost my place. Do the opposite of what the world has taught us, basically, to practice diving into the tension and stress, really exploring it and being okay with it. In doing that, you can gradually build your ability to allow. You will build your ability to observe, notice and sit curiously with what is, without getting caught up in the stories that the mind tells us about reality. And here it goes, straight onto the activity here. Although there's a little sort of after activity as well. That's interesting. There's a fair bit after what this activity is here. So this is called practicing allowfulness. And it says here, as you are sitting there reading this, take your attention inside and notice what it feels like as the breath comes and goes. Notice those physical sensations. Take a few minutes to feel your body as a whole. See whether you can feel your entire body at once, and as you are doing so, try to notice where in the body you are carrying stress or feeling tension. You don't need to worry about why it's there. You don't need to think about the situations that caused it or what you need to do about those situations. You just need to fully experience and explore those sensations. Notice what the stress feels like as a physical sensation in the body right now. Take your attention into it and notice what type of sensation it is. Feel the emotion as a physical sensation, the way you would feel a headache or a sore finger. Notice how it moves or doesn't. Notice the weight of it, the texture of it, and the size of it. Notice those things, not to catalogue them or better understand them, but just as a way to stay curious, to keep sparking your interest and openness. Keep coming back to the sensation, keep feeling it. As you do, be watchful for the mind's attempts to hijack your attention and take your awareness somewhere else, into a thought or a story about why the stress is there and what to do about it, or a story about what is wrong in your life and what you need to change. Whenever that happens, come back to the direct experience instead. Yeah, some interesting things to think about there. And in mindfulness practices I've done before, or a little bit of meditation practices that are detailed in the other book that I've read. It will say to focus on that, try and it doesn't necessarily focus on the whole body, but it will say pick specific areas of your body, notice if there's any tension in it, and try and sort of release it, and then just let it go. And this carries on here. It says, allowing the sensations. Keep coming back whenever your mind takes you somewhere else. Whenever you want to escape, return to allowing the sensation to be as it is for this instant, for this second. You don't have to allow it a second longer than that, just for this second. And after this second goes, allow it for this second. Make friends with the emotion or sensation. You don't need to build a big story around it. You can simply experience it, feel it, sit with it, and allow it to be there. And the author then goes on to say that you're doing something really important here. You're stepping out of the story and into experience. You're allowing the body to process the stress in its own time, and you're giving it the space to do so. You're also building your ability to be with difficulty, challenges and discomfort, and breaking the cycle of pain. It then goes on to explain breaking the cycle of pain here. As you master this practice, you can learn to break the link between feelings and thoughts. Usually when negative feelings like stress or anxiety arise, our thoughts can feed those feelings. As we get lost in the thoughts, the feelings get stronger. The more the feelings grow, the stronger the thoughts become. As that snowball continues, the thoughts and feelings get bigger and more overwhelming. Which I guess sounds exactly like the kind of thing that leads to a bit of a mental break or breakdown, or a nervous breakdown, that sort of thing, where people it all gets all too much, and then you kind of, I don't know, it all kind of comes crashing down. Just trying to think whether I've I'm pretty sure I recall a time where suddenly the emotions of everything that had been building up for so long just suddenly came to a head, and I just felt kind of empty and not tired as such, just sort of spent. I think really wasn't nice, but I look now at how far I've come since then, and I suppose the journey of getting here to where I am, and thankful that I had the support of people that were there and people to talk to. Anyway, it goes on to say, this is talking about the feelings growing stronger, feelings and thoughts, growing stronger and stronger, and the snowball effect kind of taking hold. An example is if your partner or friend snaps at you, you might feel angry when you think about it later. There you are, cooking dinner or reading a book, and suddenly the memory of that snapping arises, and anger usually follows. As it builds, it can feed the story of what happened, what you should have said or done in response, and what you need to do next. In other words, you reimagine the past and project the future. As that then rolls on, that story, the anger can get stronger, which feeds the story, and the cycle continues. When practicing allowfulness, what we do instead is take a step back whenever those thoughts start to take over, returning to the experience of the feeling as it is, as a physical sensation. That's it. If you can learn to do that, then you'll never have an emotional problem again. When the emotion tries to take over your thinking, or thinking tries to take over the emotion, you can sit and experience the feeling while watching the thoughts roll by. It's as if you were sitting in a nice warm house watching a thunderstorm roll through. Beautiful, powerful, and unable to stop your happiness. It goes on here to talk of using resistance as fuel for mindfulness. Embrace these areas of resistance, and suddenly finding those places of stuckness becomes a celebration of the growing recognition and awareness that you are not your mind, that thought is not everything, and that the mind doesn't know it all. You can begin to use every experience to deepen your contact with the present moment. Feelings of anger, rather than being a problem, become something you can pay attention to, something you can dive into. You no longer need to change or do anything with that anger. You can just be mindful of it, and if you experience great sadness, then sadness becomes your practice. This does something really important and interesting. It can take away the fear of those feelings and the fear of not being a good enough mindfulness practitioner. The fear itself is part of your practice and something you can make friends with. In Allowfulness, there is nothing we exclude. Cool. So yeah, there's a lot to think about there and go over and unpack. But a very interesting chapter, I think you find, and I hope you find it all as interesting as I'm finding it. We're experiencing it, at the same time as I'm reading it. It's the furthest I've got into that book. So yeah, had it sitting around for ages and thought now seemed the perfect time to explore it. I'm going to leave you with another little sort of snippet from this other little mindfulness book I've got here. This, I believe, is just by the author of this book. It's talking of mindful eating every day, which is something I personally never considered. And it says here, each meal of the day can be a call to mindfulness and gratitude. If possible, and without a sense of duty, recall how many steps were necessary to create, for example, the lovely soup in the bowl in front of you. I suppose it's more helpful here if you do that yourself, actually. In recent times, I made the point of making pumpkin soup. Pumpkins left over from Halloween, and kind of did that sort of with my daughter's help, and it was really enjoyable. I love those little steps and recipes and that kind of thing. Freely connect to the gardeners who planted and harvested the vegetables, the potter who created the bowl, the cook who prepared the meal. Really taste the dish and see whether you can guess how many ingredients went into it. The simplest meal can become a feast with a little dash of awareness. It talks of ingredients there, and like I've just alluded to there, if you did it yourself, you know exactly what went into it. I personally feel that there's a certain level of satisfaction in that, especially like going out and buying them, getting them, or growing them perhaps. There's a big part of me that wants to grow, perhaps find a patch in a local, not find a patch, get a patch in maybe a local allotment, grow some good root vegetables, perhaps have a little herb garden. Anything I can think of I'll grow, I guess. Also love the idea of foraging as well. I've got in recent times a couple of books on that. Nice little one that talks about free food, as in the stuff that just grows wild and that you can pick, and then a forager's calendar as well, which I've not kind of delved into just yet, but just from quick having a look at it, it just breaks down each season throughout the year and the stuff that grows and that you can get, and then the best times to pick it, and so I find that really helpful. Perhaps some of you will too. Anyway, that brings us to the end of day 3. Please join me for day 4. Hope those of you that are watching these are enjoying them as much as I am. It's given me kind of something else to do, whilst obviously waiting for a new job to start. As I mentioned, though, I've got one starting soon, so but don't plan to stop these. Just perhaps the times will be a bit more sporadic. but probably not much more sporadic than they already are. Just when the mood strikes me, I kind of grab the laptop and get going. Okay, I'll leave you with those thoughts of the chapters that I read out today, and yeah. All remains to say is thanks for watching. If you want to like the video, please do. If you feel the need to, leave a comment or two, then please do. And also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Take care all, and much love.